Fanboy Friday with Mark Walters and Robert Miguel.
Coyote Country 104.9.
104.9 Coyote Country. Time again for Fanboy Friday. So with me on the phone, checking in from Big D, Dallas, Texas, professional Q&A moderator and speaker, film critic at BigFanboy.com, and show director at Dallas Comic Show, the one and only Mark Walters. Everybody. Good morning, man.
Where is the snow, Robert? I'm getting really upset at the fact that, like, all these other states are getting snow, and we here in Texas, it's just like, it's 30 degrees at night, you wake up in the morning, and you're sweating. I mean, it's just, where's our snow? Can we get some snow?
You know what? I would like some snow stat. You know what? It's unfair when you got to deal with the cold, but you don't get the snow to go with it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
We deserve it. Last night when I went out to the car, I actually felt like these tiny little, kind of what felt like raindrops, not quite raindrops, just like a little bit of a mist, like kind of hitting the windows and hitting me in the face. And I thought, hey, maybe this is going to be the beginning of some snow or something. And then I woke up sweating this morning.
That's what they say about Texas, right? I mean, that's what we should, we always complain about it, but we should be very used to it by now.
Yeah, I know. At this point, yeah.
Well, you guys have had it colder than us. I mean, we're getting chilly here, but it's not quite what you guys are encountering. So, hey, maybe we'll get lucky. But then, you know how it is, man. It snows in Texas. Then we're all wrecking our cars, and
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. No one knows how to drive in it. So I guess maybe it is for the best. Maybe I should just keep my mouth shut and hope that we continue the way we are. So there you go.
Well, speaking of wrecks and speaking
of train wrecks, let's talk about M. Night Shyamalan's new movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no, really? Is it that bad?
No. I'm just joking. Now, there was a time not so long ago when you probably could say that, but no, it's funny. Glass opens this week, and I was really looking forward to it because I really enjoyed. I mean, I love Unbreakable. It's like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Of his films, it's definitely one of my favorites of his films, and I really like that film. And obviously, because it's comic book based, it has a lot to do with comic books. I mean, the whole movie is kind of preaching comic books, so I definitely love that movie for what it is. And I really enjoyed Split. I thought that was a really clever thriller, and I thought he did some good stuff with that. And I thought it was brilliant how Split ended with, and I guess this is a spoiler alert if people haven't seen it, but hey, by now you've certainly had time. But Split ended with this teaser of, that this was going to tie in with the Unbreakable universe with David Dunn and Bruce Willis's character and whatnot. So now we're finally getting the melding of those two films in Glass. And this brings together the Bruce Willis character David Dunn. It brings together Kevin from Split. And it brings, played by James McAvoy. And then it brings this Mr. Glass, who's once again played by Samuel L. Jackson. Brings all three of them together. The concept of the movie is that all three of them are sort of captured, if you will, and brought into like a psychiatric hospital for a doctor who's played by Sarah Paulson. And she is trying to observe them and figure out, she thinks that they are having delusions, that they think that they have, superpowers, or that they think that they're like comic book heroes. And so she's trying to kind of observe them and figure out, why do they think this? And it's a little hard to take at first because, you're watching it and you're thinking, okay, well, people have seen them doing these things that they do. They've seen, David Dunn with, what seems to be examples of super strength. They've seen the Kevin character turning into the Beast and attacking people and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It's not like, if it was just all in their head, why would they have been able to do what they did? So it's a little hard to take at first because you're thinking like, why is this lady, why does she, for any reason,
why is it up for debate?
Not being legit about this.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole movie there's a lot of really good sort of tension that builds up in it. And in the first half of the film, there's not really a whole lot going on because the first half of the film is them, sort of being held in this hospital and kind of, observed and whatnot. And so, that definitely runs the risk of maybe some people thinking that that's a little bit boring. I actually thought it was really good. I thought the first half was really, really good. I think they did a great job of kind of bringing these characters together and making it interesting and making you curious about where it was all headed. Unfortunately, and it's really hard to say this because, like, I've had people asking me, like, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I don't think I hated it. I think I liked it for what it was, but man, it really wasn't what I wanted it to be. Like, I think I went into this with a certain expectation of what I was hoping I was going to see, or where I was hoping the story was going to go. And it really kind of subverted those expectations. Like it took it in a very different sort of direction. And it's not necessarily a bad direction. I mean, like it does play out in an interesting way. It's just, I think that I was just sitting there thinking, man, I was really kind of hoping that he was going to give us this, and instead he gave us that. And that's not to say that it doesn't work, and that's not to say that it's bad. But I think that it's one of the reasons why some of the audiences, and I hate to use this word because it sounds like I'm throwing out a pun, some of the audiences are split on how they feel about the film. But I think that that's the reason, because I think people are going into this maybe expecting it to play out a certain way. I know I did. And the way that it kind of ends, the way it wraps everything up, it's just not that. You know, it's not what you really think it's going to be. And but I wouldn't say that it's a bad movie. Now, as far as where does it rank in the annals of, you know, M. Night Shyamalan films, like, you know, is it one of his best films? Is it one of his worst films? I would put it somewhere in the middle, kind of on the higher end. Like, I think it's decent, it's good, it's enjoyable, but there's certainly some things in there that I think could have been better. Bruce Willis's performance is really phoned in. I mean, it almost feels like they had him for like 5 days and they just used the stand-in for everything else. He's just not. He just doesn't really deliver in this film the way you want it to. But unfortunately, that's kind of every Bruce Willis performance for the last 5 or 10 years. He really doesn't seem like he's been giving it 110%. And I will say this. This movie is a showcase film for both James McAvoy and Samuel L. Jackson. They are phenomenal in this film. They do some really amazing stuff, and they're really kind of great playing off of each other. I just wish somebody would have woke up Bruce Willis while he was making this movie, because it does feel like he's kind of sleepwalking through it. And that's a shame, but I guess that's kind of indicative of every Bruce Willis movie that's coming out now. Even that last Die Hard movie, it seemed like he kind of like rolled out of bed and just picked up a gun, you know. So we'll see how it plays. Also, I will say it's pretty dark and pretty violent for a PG-13 movie. I was kind of surprised at just how much they were able to get away with. There's some pretty rough stuff in there. So, you know, if you have a problem with violence, or if you have a problem with brutality in movies, you know, you may want to know that going into it. I don't remember Unbreakable having that kind of stuff in it. I know Split certainly did, but, you know, that's just something to think about, you know, when you go to it.
All right, again, well, that's Glass, the brand new movie in theaters today, rated PG-13. It's 2 hours and 9 minutes. Right now, it's got a 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's pretty much the big release for the week. Will you have a written review or up on bigfanboy.com?
Yes, I will, indeed.
Okay. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because there's really nothing else to talk about, but I was on bigfanboy.com. I saw your Facebook page, and you guys have posted. First of all, you announced the news, and then really shortly thereafter, there was already a quick teaser on a Ghostbusters official sequel. Now, is this going to happen for real?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I guess it was Tuesday night. The news broke. Variety broke the news about how Ivan Reitman's son. Now, Ivan Reitman, of course, is the director of the first two Ghostbusters movies, the original Ghostbusters movies, and brilliant director from the 80s, like directed a lot of really great stuff. Very much in that camp of like kind of National Lampoon, Harold Ramis, like all those guys, Caddyshack, they all sort of work together. So Ivan Reitman is, in my opinion, like 1980s comedy royalty. I mean, that guy is, you know, I have high respect for that guy. His son, Jason Reitman, who has now become a very successful director in his own right. Jason Reitman is responsible for movies like Juno, Up in the Air. They most recently released The Front Runner, the movie about Gary Hart, which Hugh Jackman was in. Jason Reitman has done a lot of really, you know, amazing films that have done very, very well. And it's safe to say that he's a very successful director, but considered kind of like I would say almost like an indie director.
Right, yeah.
You know, like he doesn't do a lot of big budget, you know, tentpole type films. You know, he's certainly never done like a franchise film or a sequel or anything like that. And there have been a lot of interviews with Jason Reitman through the years where people have brought up to him, hey, have you ever thought about doing something with Ghostbusters? And he always kind of shoots it down. He always says, well, you know, I know that's my dad's legacy and everything, but, you know, I'm kind of doing my own thing. So this was kind of a surprise. It seemed to kind of come out of nowhere that all of a sudden Jason Reitman has announced that not only is he going to do a sequel to Ghostbusters, but that the screenplay has already been written. He co-wrote it with Gil Kenan, who made the movie Monster House, which I really like.
Yeah.
And Jason Reitman's going to direct it. And he's going to start shooting it over the summer, and it's planned to have a 2020 release, summer 2020 release.
Wow.
So this kind of caught a lot of people off guard. Like, a lot of people are like, wow, really? Like, this is really going to happen? Especially because, I think a lot of people thought after the Ghostbusters movie that came out a couple of years ago that flopped, that pretty much had killed the franchise. So in a way, this is sort of like, this is the sequel that everybody really wanted, like a true sequel to the original films. So hopefully we will get something really fun out of it. Now, the one thing they haven't said, or they haven't talked about, at least not yet, is no one knows if the original cast is going to come back. I think it's assumed that they would, because they are calling this a sequel to Ghostbusters 2 from 1989. So if it is a true sequel, if it is, playing off that same storyline and that same timeline, then it's assumed that, the original cast would come back in some capacity. But they also have said it would be a passing of the torch, that it would be a film that was, that its purpose was a passing of the torch. So what we'll likely get with this movie is we'll have, the old guard guys come back, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson. Sadly, Harold Ramis passed away a few years ago, so he's no longer with us. But, Rick Moranis, who's been retired from acting for the last several years, this could be a real big comeback for him. Like, if he wanted to come back and do this movie. And then also, I think if they needed someone to kind of step up and take the place of Harold Ramis, that could certainly be Rick Moranis if he wanted to do that. Even if it was just temporarily, like he jumps in to help out the guys or whatever. And they kind of alluded to that in the second film anyway, because if you remember, there's a moment in the second movie where Rick Moranis actually puts on a proton pack and goes to save the day with the guys. So they could sort of play off of that in this new movie and whatnot.
Just you talking about this and the prospects, and my head's going crazy. It's just so exciting to me. I'm just getting tickled even thinking about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a story that we all, we've always kind of wanted.
Yeah.
This. We've always wanted to see, hey, what are these guys up to now? I mean, it would be great to see them continue that story, but to truly continue that story, and use the original characters and whatnot in the original storyline. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it too. I mean, that movie was a favorite of mine. It's always been a favorite of mine ever since I was a kid. This is a little bit of trivia about me. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I loved that movie so much when it came out. And it's important to remember because people that aren't as old as us may not know this, but back then movies sometimes would stay in theaters for like a year or more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I went and saw Ghostbusters. I am not kidding. I went and saw that movie over 50 times in the theater. I was so obsessed with that movie. I love that movie so much. I would have my parents go drop me off at the movie theater. They would leave. They'd probably go shopping or something. And I'd go watch Ghostbusters by myself because I love that movie so much. And so believe me, I am excited about this.
That's awesome.
Mainly because it had such a personal connection for me. But, I'm interested to see what they do with it. So I think what we'll get is kind of the old guard guys will come in. We'll sort of pick up where they left off. And then we'll see them passing the torch to a new, younger generation of Ghostbusters, which I'm sure the studio is hoping, they'll be able to make more movies with those kids. So that's probably what you can look forward to. But then the crazy thing was that this news broke Tuesday night, and then on Wednesday morning, Sony Pictures, Columbia Pictures, released a trailer for the movie, like a teaser trailer. Now, there's nobody in the trailer. It's just a shot of the Ecto-1, the car from Ghostbusters, and it's in a barn, and you can see, electricity going off and whatnot. So it's just kind of to whet your appetite and say, yes, this is, in fact, happening. But it's just so cool that, they've already made a teaser trailer for the movie.
Yeah.
And it definitely sort of validates the fact that when you saw the news story Tuesday night, there was a lot of question of, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? And then, boom, the very next morning, here's a trailer. It's really going to happen. So yeah, Ghostbusters 3 next summer, or I said summer of next year, I guess I should say.
And of course, you can see that teaser at bigfanboy.com, I'm sure, or at least on your Facebook page, right?
Yeah, you can see it at bigfanboy.com. And also, I suggest if you go to bigfanboy.com, read the article about the news that came out about Jason Reitman directing, because there's some tidbits in there that kind of they're just interesting little bits of news about the whole thing. And I think it's important, like, read that article first and then watch the trailer, to really kind of get the full experience of it and whatnot. But I'll say this, I mean, I've been doing this crap for a long time, reporting movie news and posting movie reviews and things like that. I'm really excited about this. Like, this is something that really, for me, hey, I'll read stuff like this occasionally. I'll post news like this occasionally. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool that they're doing that. When I saw this, when I was posting this, I was really just smiling from ear to ear.
Right,
I was so happy to hear the news.
Especially in light of that disappointing, other whatever reboot. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't love it. It was kind of like, oh, okay, it's a new thing on Ghostbusters. But this is very exciting to have, I guess, some sort of closure, with the original crew. And yeah, and if they're going to move forward with, with that whole same timeline, that whole, original universe or whatever. My
whole thing, there's been a lot of discussion about that 2016 movie. And it's kind of weird because, it's one of those things where, like, you can't really talk about it because if you say anything negative about it, people are real quick to say, oh, well, you're just a misogynist pig. And my whole thing is this. I love all those ladies that are in that movie. I think they're all very funny. I just didn't think the movie was very good. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a question of not being. I don't care that they made a Ghostbusters movie with women. Right. That's not what bothers me. I just didn't think the movie was very funny. I thought it was really kind of hacked out the way that they made it. I didn't think it was very cleverly written. I was just kind of surprised that after all these years of us waiting to see something new with Ghostbusters, that was the best they could deliver. And so if that makes me a misogynist, I'm sorry, but, for me, it just makes me critical of what they did because I don't think what they did was very good.
Well, let me put a button on that by saying, if that makes you a misogynist, then my 12-year-old daughter is one, too, because she was raised on Ghostbusters. She loves Ghostbusters, 1 and 2, and we were both excited when, we found out, hey, Ghostbusters are back. They're all girls. She's a girl. So, yeah, there was a lot of girl power. She saw it. She was like, you know what? That sucked, and she was 10 at the time. So, you know what? It's what it is, and I think there's plenty of other, ladies and females out there that are honest enough to say, look, you know what? It's a movie, but it didn't live up to the original or our expectations, and it's, it's okay to say it's okay to say it's subpar if women are in it. It's all right.
Well, and I even made the comment before that movie came out, like when it was just trailers, when they were showing trailers for the movie. There was a lot of people saying things like, people were really hating on that movie because if you remember that movie, that trailer that came out for the film, that was one of the most disliked YouTube trailers ever. Mm-hmm. Like in the history of YouTube, it was one of the most. It had more dislikes than any movie trailer ever. And I remember the same sort of thing. People were saying like, "Oh, you're just being misogynist and whatnot." And I was like, "No, it's just a crappy trailer. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look funny. Can't you look at a movie trailer and say that looks like crap? So I think there was definitely some misguided efforts on that film." And hopefully Jason Reitman will course correct and we'll get something that we've been waiting for.
Well, we're all very excited about it. So, real quick before we let you go, anything else on bigfanboy.com worth checking out?
No, the only other thing I'll tease is if people want to check out information on the upcoming Dallas Comic Show, which is going to be April 6th and 7th. We'll have some really fun stuff going on there. That's at DallasComicShow.com. And, that's about all I got right now.
All right, well, thanks again, Mark. Once again, let's give it up to professional Q&A moderator and speaker, film critic at BigFanboy.com, and the show director at Dallas Comic Show, Mark Walters.
Thank you, Robert.
Fanboy Friday with Mark Walters and Robert Miguel.
Coyote Country 104.9.